What's up, everyone? Episode 2 of the quarantine COVID-19 Q&A style. Still don't have a name for everything, but I'll just go with it. And today we're going to talk about social media, the international indigenous movement, and progress that we're making at the UN, and meditation. So let's go.
Do you practice meditation?
I started meditating a couple years ago. Don't do it as frequent as I wanted to, but I do meditate, and it helps me clear my mind a lot. It helps not clear my mind. It helps me organize my mind, all my thoughts a lot. It brings, when you're, at least for me, when I'm with this type of work, I have a lot of things on my mind. I think about a lot of things. You have to think about a lot of things. You have to take a lot of things into consideration. And one thing that helps me is meditation. Apart from taking notes or writing everything down, or like journaling, that's something that I do as well. Meditation is something that helps me a lot. I first thought it was like weird, like something that people in my line of work shouldn't do or wouldn't do. But then I figured, like, what the hell? I'm my own person. I can do whatever I want. So I picked up meditation. I think it was in 2017, early 2017. Yeah. So I segued into it. Like, I used, for example, first I used the app Headspace. It's an amazing app. And it really helped me understand what meditation is, explain it to me, and I grew into meditation. I'm also doing like guided meditations. Like, if you go on YouTube, for example, you have those guided meditations. You put on your headphones and you meditate for, like, I don't know, 20 minutes. You can also meditate for 3 minutes or 5 minutes. I personally benefit most from 20 minutes. And I've tried an hour and a half meditations, but I just realized that I'm easy to lose focus in those 90 minutes. So 20 minutes is okay. When I meditate is usually in the morning. I have a morning routine. I won't go into that right now, but it's part of my routine. While not in quarantine times, unfortunately, but I should actually. I don't know why, but anyway, it is something that I include in my morning routine, and yeah, it helped me a lot. And I highly recommend people to do it as well. You don't have to call it meditation. Other people's they just sit and be themselves, be silent. To me, that's the same thing. Some people pray. That's a good thing as well. If it works for you, it works for you. And the biggest lesson that I've learned when it came to meditation is that if it helps you, it helps you. So, like, you don't be afraid of what people might say about you meditating or praying every morning. It's totally up to you. It's about how you feel, how you get through the day, and that's all that matters when it comes to that. So definitely, yes, I do meditate. If I and I also meditate when I'm on the road, actually. At the Perm Forum Expert Mechanism, every morning I just meditate for a while, and it helps me a lot.
Post-UN declaration, do you think indigenous peoples are making progress at the UN?
Yes, I do think that indigenous peoples are making progress at the United Nations. 100%. The only thing is that people need to know, and I get this question a lot from not only from indigenous peoples, but also non-indigenous peoples. Like, you've been going to the UN for quite some time now, and I'm just a rookie compared to the folks that have been going for 40 years plus, So it's all about perspective, context, and have that infinite mindset, not that finite mindset. Let me explain a little bit. When it comes to making progress within the United Nations, I always say that it is a game of making subtle but significant steps, which means that you have to come back every year, every meeting, and make progress, incremental progress. Subtle, like small minor changes, but adds up at the end to some major significant changes in policies, or that will help Indigenous peoples, communities on the ground. I think that's the perspective that, at least from my point of view. And I try to explain it to people through things that they understand, like game theory, like finite mindset and infinite mindset, or the finite game and infinite game. And Indigenous peoples, in general, throughout time, have been deploying this infinite mindset. That it is that we don't, in Indigenous peoples, we don't say that's a weird way of saying it. There's a reason why we talk about the next 7 generations, and that's an infinite mindset. If you talk about finite mindset, it's like, well, how will it help me tomorrow? And it's not about tomorrow. It's about the day after tomorrow. So that's why it is very important to keep zooming out and plan for an X number of years, and making sure that you keep coming back. And that's something that I keep pressing upon. Like when I train Indigenous peoples, when they first go to the Print Forum or an expert mechanism, I tell them, well, hey, during the evaluation or a get together afterwards, I'm like, well, keep coming back. It is all about perseverance and discipline, and you need to be doing that. Otherwise, you will lose momentum. And when you lose momentum, it is very hard to get back in and start from the same level that you left. So that's why I really try to attend every possible meeting that I've been participating in. When it comes to human rights, when it comes to climate change, when it comes to oceans, I try to participate as much as possible, because I know that I have this game plan in my mind that can only manifest if you do the work every day or every meeting that you go into that, and that requires a lot of money and resources. So it's sometimes, sometimes, most of the time, I invest my own money to be able to attend those meetings, because most of these meetings are not funded, or they won't fund me at least. And I'm okay with that, because I'm here to do the work. I like to do the work, and it is about that infinite mindset, trying to get to Indigenous peoples to a place. Of course, you want to have Indigenous peoples to have a better life, state of healthcare the next day. Of course you want that, but you also want to secure that for the next 7 generations. So that's why we are making progress, but depends on how you measure it, and what the time span you use. I use an infinite mindset, and my measurement is I measure things by making subtle but significant steps.
What social media platform do you use the most, and how do you approach them?
This is a nice question. So I asked this question like a while ago on Facebook, on my personal Facebook page, because I like to ask questions. And a lot of people, they had several accounts, but only used one. Mostly, of course, posted it on Facebook, so people only on Facebook responded to it. The social media platforms that I use are Facebook, my personal account, Facebook page, LinkedIn, Twitter, Medium, podcasting, TikTok, and Instagram. So those are my social media platforms, and I can't say that. Oh yeah, I can say. I don't use LinkedIn as much as often as I want to, even though it's a big platform. It's an emerging platform, even though it's been there for years. But it is, in terms of usage, it's emerging. Facebook, of course, that's basically where everyone lives. I always compare Facebook to like the coffee machine at your office. I just go to Facebook, check what's good, what's going on, and I chuck in a couple of questions here and there, or my opinion on something, and that's how I use Facebook. Same thing with Twitter. But Twitter is like global. It's like a global water cooler. You can go into any type of conversation and bring in your 2 cents, and so that's mostly why I use Twitter. I'm my own traffic cop when it comes to information flow. So meaning that I follow a number of people or number of institutions or companies or whatever, just to stay on top of things. It was especially very helpful in negotiations, for example, for COP21. People were on Twitter during the Paris Agreement negotiations, and I was following everything. So like, just a meeting over here, this meeting over there. It was even quicker than the CCTV screens at COP31 when they were announcing meetings. Like, I knew that things were happening like 30 minutes before they were actually on CCTV or that the general public knew. So it gave me, and by extension, the Indigenous Peoples Caucus, especially when it came to negotiations on the Paris Agreement, a 30-minute advantage on stuff. But it also gave us a way to get messages out there that, for example, that Indigenous peoples and the rights of Indigenous peoples needed to be part of the Paris Agreement in the operative text. So that's what we send out as well on Twitter. Instagram is, I use Instagram mostly to post memes, photos, short clips about the work that we do, or some quotes, those things. It's more visual. So I refrain from putting like one photo and then a big blog post as a comment or as a caption on Instagram. I don't think Instagram is made for that. It's more like visual, and people scroll and double tap something that they like. TikTok is fun. Like, it is not just for 15-year-olds, 35-year-olds are on it, 55-year-olds are on it. It is a very, very fun way of making videos. It is emerging, and I like to use it to make fun videos on what I've experienced or what I would like to share on rights of Indigenous peoples. So it basically is something that I like to explore more on TikTok. Like, you make a video that is in sync with some sounds that are viral, and that's a fun way of making videos that not only visualizes the work or something that Indigenous peoples want to create awareness of, but it also can influence non-Indigenous peoples, right? They see those videos, and if it's creative, if it's fun, then it'll be liked by a lot of people, So it's a fun way of doing it. And personally, I don't do it for the likes. because I don't get married to the likes, because I'm like, you know what, I like to do it. I started doing TikTok while everyone was like, who the, why? You go to the UN, you do things, you negotiate with ambassadors, heads of governments, and lead negotiators, and then you go on TikTok. Like, so I threw all those judgments aside. I'm like, you know what, this is a fun way of doing things, and this way, maybe a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old sees my video and then thinks differently about Indigenous peoples, or asks questions about Indigenous peoples, or challenges the status quo, things like that. That's what I like to do. Same thing with the questions that I post on Facebook. Like, people ask, well, you ask a question, but sometimes you only get 1 or 2 responses. I'm like, that's fine. Look, it's but then they'll continue with, well, is it then useless, or is the question not interesting enough? I'm like, the fact. Hold on now. I asked a question. If people are reading it, because they're scrolling it, right? So they have to curate what they want to spend their 3 seconds on. And if it's a short question, I ask that question, and they decide not to answer it, that's fine by me. But they read the question. So at some point, maybe at that exact moment, or maybe a couple of minutes after, or a day after, they think back to that question and they answer it for themselves. So in a way, I'm good. I'm cool with not getting any likes and everything else. I'm just putting things out there that I like to put out there. Medium is something that I started to explore as well. Trying to transcribe a little bit about my podcasts for people that are not listeners but readers. So I put it on Medium. And of course, the biggest thing is a podcast. I try to upload as much as possible on a podcast because for me, I listen. This is also a little bit self-awareness that I'm starting to feel comfortable in front of the camera, but I really wanted to get things out there that people understood what these peoples are doing at the UN, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, what we're doing. So I started off with a podcast. I wanted to do the long form thing, not just the 5-minute sound bites or 15-minute conversations, but context. I think context is very important. So I think stuff like podcasts are really good for that. So yeah, that's podcast, Medium, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. So yeah, those are the social media platforms I use, and I'm just a one-man show, so I can't do 25 posts a day on every single platform. Like I don't have the means or the infrastructure to use the algorithms of those particular platforms. But I just chuck things out there that I like to chuck out there. In terms of memes, in terms of quotes, in terms of questions, in terms of thoughts, things like that. It's I started looking at, for example, Instagram not as a museum. Like the people curate what they put on Instagram. And I'm like, I used to do that, but at some point, I'm like, you know what? Like, this is not me. So let's just put out things out there that I can really stand behind. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Like perfection is something that I have let go a very long time ago. Because perfection, it only messes with you. It only screws you up. So for me, if it's good enough, it's good enough, and I'll put it out there and just let the world decide.
What do you think the international indigenous movement is?
The international indigenous movement is made up of all the indigenous peoples that participate in UN meetings, EU, and other multilateral intergovernmental meetings that concern indigenous peoples or address indigenous peoples' issues. So it is entirely made up of the people that participate. It is not that you have a set number of people that can go anywhere, but it's like depends on who shows up, you know. And sometimes it's you have a lot of familiar faces, and sometimes you don't have a lot of familiar faces, a lot of strange faces, which is fine too. You know, it's all about expanding the movement. There's no leadership. There's no president, there's no CEO or executive director or secretary general or whatever. There's just the movement. There's just the peoples, because yeah, most of us are on the notion that we all as peoples have the right to self-determination. So we determine for ourselves who we listen to. And mostly when it comes to the movement, we listen to ourselves, but we try to strategize with each other, so that we can together move the needle a little bit. So I think that's I think it's easy to segue into indigenous caucuses and try to explain that a little bit, but that's a huge monster to tackle. I think that's a whole different question. That could be answered in a different video, but I think to me that's the international indigenous movement. It's not just about rights, but it's mostly about interests. But of course, it's also a lot about rights. That's it. That's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this Q&A a little bit, and I hope to see you. Yeah, not see you, but drop me a line. Let me know what you think. If you agree with me or you're going to take me to town, whatever, let me know. Drop me a line, Facebook, and well, I just told you all my social media, where I'm at, where I live on social media. So yeah, drop me a line. Have a good day. Stay safe. Stay inside.